Most people think Denji is just a horned out protagonist, a joke character, a walking meme, a gooner if you will. But if that's the extent of your understanding of Chainsaw Man, then you don't understand Denji at all, because Denji's not a punchline. He's one of the strongest and most uncomfortable explorations of male vulnerability, exploitation, and psychological abuse in modern anime. Chainsaw Man isn't a power fantasy, it's a tragedy, and at the center of that tragedy is a boy who has never known what it feels like to be loved. So let's put our thinking caps on and really dig deep to figure out why Denji is the way that he is. But before that, guys, for me, if you guys can drop a like, sub, and drop a comment, it really helps smaller channels like mine out. I have a goal, I'm trying to hit 2,000 before the new year, and every interaction helps. Thank you, and back to the video. Oh, and if it wasn't obvious, major spoiler warning for part 1 of Chainsaw Man. When the story begins, Denji doesn't enter the world as a normal teenager with normal desires. He enters it already destroyed. His father physically abused him and blamed him for his mother's death. When his father dies, Denji doesn't inherit memories or keepsakes, he inherits debt. Crushing, impossible debt. The Yakuza turned a grieving child into a labor tool and forced him to pay with his body. He sold his eye, he sold his kidney, he sold other parts of himself, piece by piece, because in Denji's world, a person only has value when their body can be used. His life consisted of cutting down devils like cattle while starving in a rotting shack, and every cent he earned was stolen before he had the chance to breathe. So when Denji dreams of sleeping in a real bed, or eating toast with jam, or maybe if he's lucky, touching a girl for the first time, those aren't shallow fantasies, those are basic human experiences that he's been denied his entire life. For Denji, survival was the only language life ever taught him, and living was never an option. The only warmth he ever felt came from Pochita, the one who didn't demand anything from him. Pochita didn't take advantage of him, didn't threaten him, didn't need payment in return. That tiny orange devil was the first and only unconditional love Denji ever knew, and that is exactly why he becomes such easy prey. People laugh when Denji talks about touching boobs as if that makes him shallow or stupid, but look deeper. Denji has never received affection his entire life. He's never been held, never been praised, never been loved, so his understanding of love is warped from the start. Physical intimacy becomes the only form of emotional connection he knows. To him, being touched isn't sexual gratification, it's proof that someone wants him there. Denji's hypersexual not because he's lustful, but because the world taught him that worth begins and ends with the body. He believes love must be earned, affection must be bought, and intimacy is a reward for obedience. That's not teenage hormones, it's trauma. So when power finally lets him touch her chest and he feels nothing, no joy, no connection, no fulfillment, Denji's forced into a brutal realization. Physical touch means nothing if there's no emotional bond. For the first time in his life, he learns that love and sex aren't the same thing. But he doesn't ever have the emotional vocabulary to understand why he feels empty. He simply feels wrong. Makima is not just a manipulative woman, she is the exact type of abuser someone like Denji is defenseless against. She studies him and understands his vulnerabilities. She sees his starving desperation for affection and uses it as her leash. From the moment they meet, Makima weaponizes touch, tone, and proximity. When Denji wakes up in her lap after killing the zombie devil, she wipes his blood, leans close, and speaks gently. To Denji, this isn't just kindness, it's the first time in his life someone has cared for him. But Makima immediately links that affection to obedience. She tells him he will either be her dog or she'll kill him. Love becomes conditional, safety becomes conditional, his very life becomes conditional. Makima doesn't nurture him, she trains him. She treats him like an animal who can only behave if he is rewarded and threatened. She pets his head, she feeds him, she praises him for doing jobs correctly, she promises future affection and always stops just short of actually giving it. This is textbook grooming behavior. Kindness becomes currency, affection becomes a chain. And Denji, who has never known real love, accepts every inch of it. Whenever Denji begins forming healthy relationships, friendship with power, brotherhood with Aki, genuine connection with Reze, Makima interferes. She cannot afford to let him understand love if she wants to control him. And every time she senses him drifting from her influence, she reels him back in with soft words, promises, and calculated touches. Makima is not manipulating Denji by accident, she's orchestrating a psychological cage, not by force, but by dependency. One of the darkest truths about Chainsaw Man is how often Denji is exploited by adults. People call him a pervert, but the story repeatedly shows that he's the one being preyed upon. Himeno attempts to sleep with him while he is drunk and underage. Makima offers him sex if he can kill the gun devil, knowing he's too emotionally vulnerable to refuse. Even the public views Chainsaw Man, not Denji, as an object to be possessed and consumed. Denji isn't surrounded by caring mentors or healthy role models. He's surrounded by predators dressed as allies. The tragedy is that he doesn't understand when he's being used, because he has never experienced a version of affection that wasn't transactional in the first place. Denji is not the hunter in the story, he's always been the prey. Chainsaw Man constantly asks a simple but devastating question: what is a normal life, and who deserves to live it? Denji's greatest desire is not power or fame, it's normalcy. He wants to eat breakfast with friends, sleep in a real bed, go on dates, watch movies, and maybe one day have a family. These are ordinary dreams, but for Denji, they're revolutionary. Yet, every time he reaches for normalcy, it shatters. Aki dies, Howard's murdered right in front of him, and Reze leaves him behind. Even Makima, the person he trusts the most, destroys the little happiness he has. Fujimoto crafts a world where vulnerable people who want simple things are punished for wanting them. Denji's life is a cycle of briefly touching happiness before it's violently stolen away. It's one of the most accurate portrayals of how trauma follows people into adulthood. You don't simply get better, some wounds are too deep. One of the most brilliant metaphors in Chainsaw Man is Makima's use of the fable of the city mouse and the country mouse. On the surface, it sounds like a harmless bedtime story, but in Denji's world, it becomes a psychological map of his life. Denji is the city mouse. The city promises him everything he's ever wanted: food, safety, comfort, affection, a home. To a starving child, the city looks like freedom. But once Denji arrives, he learns the truth. The city isn't a place of dreams, it's a place where predators rule. The city is built on exploitation, and Denji, just like the mouse, is prey in a world of hunters. Makima, of course, is the cat. She watches from above, she knows every move her mouse will make. She uses kindness not to torture, but to domesticate. And the irony of Makima using rats is brilliant, because cats don't protect rats, they control them. She treats Denji like a pet, not a person. The meaning of the fable becomes even darker when Reze appears. Reze is the first person who offers Denji something real. With her, he laughs, holds hands, talks about school, swims, and dreams. Reze shows him the life of the country mouse, a quiet, simple life full of peace instead of blood. A life where he could be human, not a tool. She asks him to run away with her, she invites him to choose happiness. But the moment Denji mentions Makima, Reze stops trying. She doesn't argue, she doesn't plead, she knows it's already over. She knows Denji's owned. The cat has already marked her prey. He is no longer choosing his future, he's under someone else's control. Fujimoto's message is devastating. Whether you're a country mouse or the city mouse, there's still a cat there. Once the system has its claws into you, escape is just an illusion. Denji's arc reaches its darkest moments when Makima stops pretending and takes everything from him. She destroys the only real family he ever had. She crushes Aki's identity and forces Denji to kill him with his own hands. She murders power while smiling gently at Denji, knowing it'll break him beyond repair. And when he falls apart, when he's traumatized, sobbing, and empty, she comforts him. That is the purest form of psychological control. She destroys his world, then becomes the only person left for him to cling to. Makima doesn't just want Chainsaw Man, she wants Denji erased. She wants his free will, his identity, his emotions, everything that makes him human, because only when he stops being Denji can Chainsaw Man be hers and hers alone. This isn't manipulation anymore, it's abuse of the highest order. Denji isn't a joke, he isn't a clown, he isn't a mascot for teenage lust. He's a child who was never allowed to be a child, a boy who was taught that his body had value, but his heart did not. That's why we hear him say, "Everybody's always after my chainsaw heart. What about my heart? What about Denji's heart? Does nobody want that?" He's a human being who believes affection must always be earned because unconditional love is something he's only experienced once in his life, and it came from a devil, not another person. Chainsaw Man is not making fun of him. Chainsaw Man is mourning him. Underneath every joke, every impulsive dream, every childish fantasy, there's a quiet and suffocating tragedy. Denji doesn't know how to be human because nobody ever showed him how. The world failed him before he ever had a chance. So the next time somebody calls him a simp or a gooner, understand what they're really doing. They're laughing at a victim. They're ignoring the abuse, the grooming, the manipulation, the trauma, the grief. They're mocking a boy who just wants somebody to hold his hand and mean it. Denji's not meant to be a power fantasy. He's meant to be a mirror, a reflection of how society treats the vulnerable, a warning about how easy it is to control somebody who's never been loved, a reminder that trauma doesn't make a person edgy or cool, it makes them hollow. If you think Denji's funny because he's stupid, you're not paying attention. Denji's funny because if he ever stopped laughing, he would fall apart. And at the end of the day, Chainsaw Man leaves us with one devastating truth. Denji doesn't want power, he doesn't want fame, he doesn't even want sex. Denji just wants to live a normal life. A life where breakfast with his friends is guaranteed, a life where he can open his door and not be afraid, a life where someone loves him simply for being Denji. Not Chainsaw Man, not a weapon, not a dog. Just a boy. If you think Denji's just some horny protagonist, you missed the point. You don't understand Denji, or you just don't understand Chainsaw Man. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you've made it this far, drop what character you want me to analyze next. And until next time, guys, thank you.